Welcome to Gene and Mike do the New York Times crossword.
Hi, I'm Jean.
And I'm Mike. And today we are doing the crossword for Sunday, January 26th, 2025. So, did you do the crossword?
I did do the crossword.
And did you find it to be an epic Sunday?
An epic Sunday?
Epic Sunday?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
It was quite good.
Good.
I liked it. Did you?
I had a lot of trouble with it. I didn't quite understand what was going on with the theme.
It was a little different, yes.
There were a couple of places where it just didn't make any sense to me. And so what I usually do in circumstances like this is just try and ignore the theme.
Yes.
Which makes it even harder.
Yes. It did with this one.
So,
It did with this one. So, because you had to actually solve an answer that was sort of cryptic because it had a circled square, and you had to sort of you had to solve that before you could solve the one that crossed it. So yeah, it was tricky.
This took me much longer than usual.
Me too. Yeah.
It was just, I don't know, I just found it a little bit, I just felt at sixes and sevens when I was trying to do it for some reason.
Well, and another thing is that the gimmick or whatever you want to call it was not consistent, And when I talk about it, I will explain what I mean by that. So it was like, if you could figure out what one was doing, you could do them all, because it didn't quite work like that.
I think it did. Let's actually just talk about the theme so we can, without spoiling things. So just talk about the theme and then we can go into that.
Okay. Well, the name of the puzzle was Letter Openers. And it said that this puzzle is intended to have picture clues. If you're solving on an app that hasn't been updated, you might see a description of the missing image file instead of the intended clue. If you aren't able to update your app, you can solve online or in print to get the full solving experience. Well, I think it would be very hard to solve this without actually seeing the pictures, but maybe some of you did that. And if you did, more power to you, because I think that would have been tricky.
Mm-hmm.
But what they had were some circled squares throughout the puzzle, and you would get like the across clue, but you had to really solve the down clue where those were, and the down clues were the ones with the pictures. So the first one was 22 across. And it said C19 down. So you go to 19 down, and there is the words circled letter plus and a picture of a cane. Okay, so you got to put cane in there somewhere. And sometimes with these, you could actually put the actual word, but sometimes you could just put like the phonetic sound of the word, not the actual word itself. In this case, you put the cane below the circled square. There were six squares, and the second one had the circle in it. So there were 4 under it, and you put the cane in there. And then you really had to kind of solve the one above it because you needed that letter too in order to solve the one going down. So you had to solve 18 across, which was lifted one's spirits, and that was made a toast. So that gave you an A above the circled letter, and then you had cane underneath the circled letter. And as you started solving some of the other downs, I came to the conclusion that 22 across was clear as mud.
And now when you say that, you actually mean that was the answer.
That was the answer.
Yeah, okay. Not that you were just being sort of snide there. Okay.
No,
yeah.
But, and so the R was the letter that was in the circle. And so if you read it down, then you have an A from made a toast, the R from clear as mud, and then cane underneath that. So you have the word arcane, which is as 22 across says clear as mud. Something that's arcane is something that's a little difficult to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So you sort of had to solve them in tandem, trying to figure out the picture so you knew what letters to go down. And then as that kind of started forming a word, then you had to figure out, okay, how would, if that was the clue, then what would I put in the across?
But the across here was, it was different than some of the others because here it was actually being sarcastic, right? Clear as mud, which, means that it isn't clear. It's very sort of
arcane.
But it's still different from all the others where the across was a literal definition of what the down was.
Right. Well, clear as mud is kind of a definition. Like if you had the clue arcane, and one of the answers to that could be clear as mud, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Here, the circled square is at the beginning of both the across and the down.
Which one are we looking at?
We're looking at 29 across and 29 down.
Got it.
Okay, so 29 across says see 29 down. And 29 down says circled letter plus and a picture of a road. Okay, so you need to put road into the down clue, and there's 5 letters. The first one's circled, and then there's 4 under it. So of course I write ROAD, road. Well, it actually turned out from doing some of the other answers around it that it was RODE, road.
Right.
And the circled letter, if you put an E in there, you get the word erode, and the answer to 29 across was eat away, which is erode. So you can kind of see how you sort of have to figure out what's going down, but at the same time you kind of have to be looking at the letters that you might fill in on the across one from the down clues, to see that you make that the two mean the same thing, erode and eat away.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, in the first case, cane was spelled C-A-N-E.
Right.
In this case, road is pictured. A road is pictured, but you need to put the R-O-D-E
yes.
in the answer. Okay.
Now the other thing I just want to point out about that is that they've got a picture sort of like a winding road, mm-hmm. and it's pointing to the edge of the road, sort of the margin, as it were, or maybe the shoulder of the road. I wasn't entirely sure at first that it had to be road. I looked at it and thought road, but I thought, well, maybe because I was having trouble there, maybe they mean like an S curve or a bend or something like that.
Well, it's a road, and there's sort of mountains on either side of
right.
it. So I just assumed it was pointing to the road, not the mountains.
And I eventually decided, well, I got one of the acrosses that convinced me that was the case. But
mm-hmm.
I was flailing around in this a bit, uh-huh. and that was one of the reasons. Like with the cane, it was like clearly a cane. There's no sort of wiggle room there. But
right.
here it's just like, what part of the road do they mean?
Uh-huh.
They just mean the road.
Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. So then the third one was 42 across, which was C46 down, which was at the end of 42 across, and there was a circle there. And 46 down was circled letter plus, and there was a picture of a tray. Okay, but the answer for 46 down had 6 letters. So where you put the tray, you had to kind of figure out, where it belonged. Did it belong right under the circle within a blank square underneath it, or do you put it at the very end? Well, it turned out you put it at the very end because the 42 across, as you were working with the downs, you could kind of suss out that word was backstab.
Right.
So the answer to 46 down was betray. Like
Betray.
Betray. But of course, to spell betray, you need to have an E too. So you had the B in the circle, the E, and then the word tray.
Right.
So again,
they're giving you the pronunciation of the answer, not the spelling. Sure.
Not necessarily the spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to kind of think of it phonetically, not necessarily spelling. Okay. Another one. This is the one that kind of threw me. 64 across said C67 down. And that crossed with 64 across at the second to last letter, and there was a circle there. And the picture was in 67 down, circled letter plus, and you see two knitting needles with a piece of knitting on them and a ball of yarn coming off. So it turned out that that I tried to put knit in there, KNIT, with the first letter being circled, the K. But actually, if you again worked through the downs, crossing 64 across, you could kind of suss out the words work group, and so that meant a U had to be in that circle. And then you put NIT under it for unit. So a unit is a work group and vice versa. But there is another situation where you don't even have enough squares to write out what the picture is. Knitting or knit, or you just get to put like we were saying, phonetically, NIT, knit. So anyway, it was kind of tricky, and you really did have to be good to be able to get some of those down clues so you could answer the across one, and then make sure that it kind of coincided with the one going down where the circled square was.
Right.
And of course, the letter in the circled square had to be a sound in the word going down.
Yes.
So we had like arcane and unit and E road. We also had the word escape for one of them. So the circled letter was an S, escape. And then we also had another S for espy, which was the answer to the one going down.
So with a couple of the answers for the downs, they had the circled letter was the second letter.
Yes.
In the answer, and so the first letter was basically silent.
Yes.
So for instance, 82 down, they showed a picture. It said circled letter plus, and it showed a picture of a superhero with a cape behind them. Mm-hmm. So
wasn't there an arrow pointing? Yeah, there's an arrow pointing to the cape.
Yes.
So you knew that cape had to be in the down answer.
Right, and the answer turned out to be escape. Right. But it's really the E, but it was, if you just say escape.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like the word. It sounds like the letter S.
Right, yeah. You don't hear that S. And they did that again with 107 down. They had circled letter plus, and they had a piece of a pie with a slice missing, and it was espy,
right? Mm-hmm.
as in have eyes on,
right?
And here too, it was the circled letter was the S, so espy, except pie in this case was spelled P-Y,
right?
Espy, but you don't really say the E, you just say S, espy.
Right.
That E is sort of built in there.
Yeah.
So, but that threw me off too. So, but eventually I got it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In fact, when I did solve it, my last letter, let's see, was I think it was the E of erode and eat away, and I got that, and it might have been it was the last E in erode, because 53 across, blank Collins, author of the Hunger Games, didn't know it was Suzanne,
right?
And when I got the E of Suzanne completing your road, it actually solved. So even though it took me a lot longer to solve this puzzle, it was one of those rare puzzles where I put in the last letter and I got the happy music. And it's like, that's good, because I've already spent a lot of time in this crossword.
Yeah.
I have things to do, places to be. Not really, but I can pretend.
Well, you did have things you wanted to do.
Right. One of them was this crossword, and it was looking for a certain amount of time that was not going to happen.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a challenging Sunday.
Yes.
I mean, there's always some sort of a challenge to a Sunday because it's so large, and oftentimes the answers are quite long. But with this one, I mean, you not only had to be able to figure out the down and the across, you had to be able to figure out a lot of the words around them, because really the across didn't have a word to tell you what was going to be in there. You had to figure out sort of this picture thing with the circled letter. And it didn't tell you what the circled letter was, so you sort of had to guess, well, what's the circled letter?
Right.
So in both cases, you really didn't have a clue.
That's certainly the case for me.
For either one. So you had to, like I kept saying, you sort of had to suss it out from the downs, from the letters the words that crossed both of those words, in order to kind of figure out what at least one word was, and then maybe from that you could get what the other word was, because they were synonyms.
Yeah. The other thing about this is, as you know, I am fundamentally lazy. And so when I read a clue and it says, see another clue, I'm like, oh, great, homework.
Yeah.
Now I have to go find some other clue. And I had to do that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 7 times. The other interesting thing about this is if you take, so the New York Times is pretty amazing, right? And it's sort of like you're watching, like, I don't know, some streaming series, and all of a sudden there's a plot twist. And there's a theme twist in here, because I don't know if you noticed this, but if you look at the letters, the circled letters, they spell out the word rebuses.
Oh, yeah, they do.
And it's just like, wow. And I didn't notice that. I mean, I barely understood the theme, but I was looking at Xword Info, and they pointed out that it spells out the word rebuses.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's just like, okay, not only did they create this incredible puzzle, they slipped rebuses in as sort of a little Easter egg there.
Oh. Did you happen to read any comments? What people
there seemed to be a lot of people who were not happy about this.
Oh,
there seemed to be more grumbling than usual.
Oh, really? Well,
and difficulty solving it.
Well, I can kind of understand that, but it was a very interesting challenge. Once you kind of figured out what was going on, it was a very interesting challenge for me.
Right.
But like I said, it took me much, much longer than I usually like to spend on a crossword puzzle. And then I did not get the happy music when I put the last one in.
Oh.
And I actually had
Curses.
about 3 different places that I needed to fix before I got the music. But
I think because I was moving so slowly, I was able to be meticulous because it just took me forever and I was spending a lot of time in each section trying to figure out what was going on. There were some good clues everywhere. I liked 5 across, the pioneers of freeze-drying food. I was trying to remember there's a company, it's like called Oneida, not Oneida.
Or Ida.
Or Ida. And I was thinking, is it Orida? Or
No.
Then I thought Green Giant?
No.
Turns out it was the Incas.
The Incas, yeah. I was thinking Birdseye, because I knew Birdseye was the one who figured out frozen foods. They kind of cornered the market on like frozen veggies.
Right.
But of course that didn't fit. But yeah, it was the Incas. I wonder how they froze the food.
That's just
and
it.
Able to dry it.
They're in the middle of Central America, right? There was no, must have been aliens. Aliens clearly landed and they brought a fridge with them.
But even a fridge wouldn't freeze dry food. So.
Well, now that you say it, I was thinking of frozen foods. I mean, that's why I was thinking of Orida.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was thinking of Birdseye.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was freeze. So what's freeze drying? That's where you take food and you dry it by freezing it.
Yeah.
Is that like dehydrating it?
In a way, yeah. But by doing it in cold rather than drying.
Well, clearly the Incas couldn't have done that. I mean, it never got below freezing.
I know. I'm not quite sure. That'd be a good thing to research. Wow, how in the world did they freeze dry things? They're living in this very hot, humid climate.
I'd appeal to our Inca listeners, but I believe they aren't around anymore.
No, I don't think we would get any original Incas, but
yeah, because they would be
Inca expert out there.
They would be, hundreds and hundreds of years old, maybe thousands and thousands of years old. Okay.
Oh.
Well,
anyway, yep.
I did think
it
was
a very interesting answer.
And 5 down, it reads just like that, and I have to give away the answer to tell you what the clue says. It says just like, and then the word that is italicized,
right.
And the answer is italic.
Yeah.
Just like that, italic. That was brilliant. Completely fell for that. And the one next to it, 6 down, without regard to privacy. I had it ending in ly, so I went openly.
That's what I put too, yeah.
But it was nosily.
Nosily, yeah.
Boy, every time I look at that word, I want to say noisily.
Yes.
It's just like I can't not say the oi part.
So.
Did you know that the largest public school in the U.S. by enrollment, 8 down, was ASU?
Arizona State, yes.
Is that what the A stands for?
Yeah. They have a huge online course.
Okay. I was about to say, I didn't think Arizona had that many people.
No, I mean, it's worldwide, they're Arizona State. They kind of were one of the very first schools that went to, satellite courses and being able to take courses without being on campus. And yeah, they've got thousands and thousands of students because of that. Boy, and also faculty, because they hire faculty, not just at Arizona. You can be teaching here like you and teach a class for Arizona State.
For the record, I'm not teaching for Arizona State.
No, you're not.
I don't think I'm pretty sure they'd violate some law.
Well, I'm not sure how they get around it, but yeah, they do that.
No, it'd violate the law if I was teaching at 2 universities.
At
least.
Well, I know when I was teaching, they were doing that.
23 across, place for a white picket fence and a mom and pop shop. Any town, USA.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was a good answer.
Any town.
And then that Y of any town ran into 11 down, safe harbors, asyla.
Yes.
Wow.
I did not know that was how you said the plural of asylum.
Asylums becomes asyla.
Yes.
That's attention to detail.
That's right.
I thought that was a great word. And then we also had, let's see, what else did we have in that area? We had, I can find this eventually, 33 across.
Yes.
Passion. Passion was ardency.
Ardency, yes.
Wow.
If you're ardent about something, I guess you are exhibiting ardency.
I suppose.
Yep.
Let's see. What else was good? White House dog of the 1980s, 34 down, was Rex.
Yeah.
Okay, name the president.
I don't know. I think it might have been Reagan.
Reagan had a dog called Rex?
Maybe.
I bet it was a dinosaur.
Maybe it was Bush, the first Bush. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Clinton, because he had a cat. So I'm not sure.
And
I was thinking it might be Reagan.
Biden had these pit bulls that kept biting the Secret Service.
I think they were Labradors or German Shepherds. German Shepherds.
They were hungry.
Well, just one of them.
One of them was hungry.
Just didn't like the Secret Service. So
we had 56 down. Ridge in metalworking was a knurl.
I had never heard that word.
I've heard the phrase knurled knob to be like a knob that's got these little sort of
filigree on it, little indentations.
Yes. And so I presume that's where that comes from.
I guess.
And we had 71 across. Let's hear it for blank kosh bagosh. Osh, as in Oshkosh Bagosh.
Just down the road.
Oshkosh, just down the road in the middle of northeast Wisconsin. And so Oshkosh Bagosh started here as a company.
That's right.
In the 1400s or something like that.
No, it wasn't quite that long ago. But.
Well, it was, 1895. And then it got bought out by a company called Clark.
Yeah.
And
Now it's Carter's.
And now, I'm sorry, you're right. It was bought out by a company called Carter's.
Right.
Clark was one of the founders.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And but it was bought out in 2005, and now, pretty much the whole company, I guess, is made in Mexico or something.
Oh, really?
But they kept the name.
Uh-huh. Well, and I mean, didn't they start? I know they started making overalls,
Right,
for people who were farming in farming communities and stuff,
and wanted to look stylish.
Mm-hmm. And then, like when our kids were younger, they started making baby bagash,
Really?
which was little overalls and little outfits for babies and children. And Carter's, of course, is a children's apparel company.
Mm-hmm.
And now I really think that's all they make. I don't know that they still make overalls for adults. I almost think they just make kids' clothes.
I'm going to try and find some.
So,
but you are correct. It doesn't make so I guess I won't be buying anything.
No.
Because it's going to be hard for me to get into a youth.
Will not fit.
I think even a youth 14 would not work for me. I don't even know what size that is, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work.
The clothes they make are very cute.
Mm-hmm.
Very cute.
We had, let's see, 72 down was vowel sound in father, and I thought, oh, I know this one. It's a schwa.
Me too.
And I was
That's what I put in.
I was so proud of the fact that it was a schwa, except it turns out to be a soft A.
Yeah.
Sort of the more obvious answer was the one here. It's just like, oh, really? Okay. Because I was having a lot of trouble coming up with an auto mechanics tool, 78 across, that started with the letter C.
Yes.
And the reason is because possibly there isn't one.
No.
It was an oil gun.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Although I kept thinking there was going to be something like a crimp tool, but definitely wasn't going to fit.
Right. The one next to that, I did not know this word, and I still don't know what it stands for. 80 across. War room briefings in military shorthand. Sit reps.
So sit would be like a situation. I bet it's situation report.
Oh yeah. I couldn't figure out what the reps was. I thought the sit might be situation, but
it's a briefing.
Report.
It would be a report. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That sounds like perfect militaries.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
81 across was a mystery to me for a while. Gold medal offering. It was White Flower.
That's right.
That's the company that makes white flour.
Yeah.
Or one of the companies that does.
Mm-hmm. One.
And then the W of white flour came off of 57 down. They're for suckers, straws.
Right.
That was cute. Good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see, 84 across. It took me a while. Cause of puddles in early spring, say. So I went for rain because it's like, well, that's where you get the puddles from.
Right.
And then I thought snow, but then it was thaw.
That's right.
So,
yep, that makes sense. Well, the one that crossed it, 69 down, office folder, laptop.
Yes, that was cute.
Mm-hmm.
A gimme for me, finally a gimme for me, 90 across was Gordon Blank, engineer with a law predicting a doubling of transistors and microchips every 2 years. Moore's Law.
Moore's Law. I actually got to hear Moore speak in person.
Really?
At a conference once. Yes, he was fascinating. And I don't know, does Moore's Law still hold? At the time, it seemed to be holding that, technology in general, the capacity for computers and stuff was doubling at the rate that he said it would double every 2 years. And I don't know if that's still the case or not.
I don't know if it's the case that the number of components on the chips are doubling. It might be, but it seems to me that if you look at performance of chips, they're increasing like exponentially, like doubling every so often. So I think some form of Moore's Law still applies because when you look at modern CPUs, they're unbelievably faster than something just a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So some really hard-working engineers.
Mm-hmm.
It's 97 down. Prominent features of elephant seals. I went for tusks Because I thought, well, elephants have tusks. Maybe elephant seals have tusks. But it was noses.
No, they have big noses. Yeah.
I know. I sort of like the Jimmy Durante of the natural world. I looked at that and just like, oh man, you really need to go see a rhinoplasty surgeon. Actually, I'm not sure if rhinoplasty is if that's the right form, but they definitely need some sort of plastic surgery there.
Maybe they need those big noses for a reason. Oh.
Yes, so they can get into the crossword. Don't see any other members of the animal kingdom in here. 100 down, planet whose day is longer than its year was Venus.
Yes.
I thought that was sort of clear.
That is very interesting, yes.
All right. Well, I think that is it for today.
Okay.
So thanks, everyone, for listening to this extra long episode. And we will be back with what we promise to be a much shorter episode covering Monday's crossword.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be shorter. But just as amusing and witty. And we will...
We hope.
Oh, it's a guarantee. 100%, or your money refunded, right? Your money cheerfully refunded. And anyways, we will be back with all of that tomorrow.
Bye-bye.